turn to the question then that Ratzinger takes up middle of 99. Even today, he says at the top, we do not limit ourselves to the question of what can I do. We also ask what ought I to do, and who am I? That is, we're going from technological questions, right? What is possible, to moral and philosophical questions. What is obligatory? What am I? Questions of philosophical anthropology, questions of existential import, questions of personal identity. What am I? What kind of people am I? What kind of people are we? What kind of research should we fund, etc.? What kind of values will inform what I do and what we do? There are, of course, cosmological evolutionist systems that elevate the non-existence of God to the level of an obvious truth of reason, and claim to demonstrate that there is no God. But this type of general theory of knowledge betrays its own methodological character at essential points. The enormous gaps in our knowledge are filled by a series of mythological, theatrical props with a fictitious rationality that will not deceive anyone. It is an obvious fact that the rational character of the universe cannot be explained rationally on the basis of something irrational. And this is why the logos that is the origin of all things remains more than ever the best hypothesis. Let's talk about that.
Logos is logic, right?
What's that?
Is logos logic?
Logos, yeah, means reason or logic. Yeah. But also discourse and truth, and it's one of the names of God in the Christian traditions. That's actually what he's getting at, is that when he says Christianity is a religion of logos, he means it's a religion of reason, especially in its Catholic form. And therefore, to believe in God is to believe in reason in some way. It means to have a sort of obligation to have a worked out philosophy, philosophical explanation. So what does he call, what does he talk about, what does he mean at the top of this page by these cosmological evolutionist systems?
The Big Bang Theory, thanks.
I don't think he's thinking about the Big Bang in particular. I think he's thinking about something more along the line of an evolutionary account of the human being. And the Big Bang would fit into it.
So how we care for patterns?
Yeah, this is the
Social Darwinism also falls into this.
it might, though I don't think social Darwinism is a necessary consequence of actually having a certain theory about the origin of human beings. You don't have to become a social Darwinist. You could, but it doesn't look like it's obligatory.
Well, I meant from the sense that survival of the fittest became weak.
Yeah, apply that to the social sphere. You got social Darwinism, which is a certain kind of political and ethical viewpoint. But I don't think it follows. It harmonizes with, but it's not a necessary consequence of this. We call it a cosmological system. This is to say, it's a theory of the universe and the cosmos and its ultimate origin. We're familiar with this point of view in this narrative. Human origins are evolutionary and materialist in character. Mentions. I think what Ratzinger is focusing in on here on page 99 is that under this system elevates the belief that there's no God to the realm of an obvious truth, not even really worth discussing. And most crucially, for the question I've raised in this class, there's no intelligence behind things, meaning that once you understand how this happened, it's something that has no further rational explanation. So there's no rational explanation for why humans are the way they are beyond this. I mentioned this, I think, last class when I said, why is it that we do what we do? Well, it has to be because it helped our ancestors to survive, to become our ancestors, to thrive and outcompete in the environment, material environment in which they found themselves. There's no other explanation for it, right? Evolution doesn't pick and choose the beautiful, except if the beautiful is advantageous to survival and success. So we have reason, we have some impulse towards religion. These things must have been adaptive at some point in our species past. You guys are familiar with this general line of thinking? Or at least if I'm articulating it now, it makes a kind of sense. not completely unknown. What's Ratzinger's critique, though? He says here at the bottom, it is an obvious fact the rational character of the universe cannot be explained rationally on the basis of something irrational! Exclamation point. What is his line of attack on this? He's saying basically that this entire system is inadequate, doesn't work, there's something wrong with it. He begins with the rational character of the universe. The universe has rational character. It is rational in a certain fashion, maybe by meaning precisely what we talked about. It seems to be governed by laws, which are intelligible, understandable. Intelligible laws, that if we want to provide an explanation for this universe, what's his objection to the cosmological system, the evolutionary system he's just referred to, that I've sketched out here? What's his objection to this cosmological explanation for the universe, this evolutionist account of the universe? He says there's a problem with it.
You can't get rational from irrational.
Right, that's it. There's a problem here. The evolutionist account says the universe is a non-rational origin. There's no rationality in the coming to be of the universe. There's no creation story. There is no rationality in the development of the universe, including the human beings who are part of it, and the human knowledge and thought that is part of it. So if that's option one, the problem here is that you're trying to use the non-rational to explain the rational. What that means, I think, ultimately, is that the rational isn't what it claims to be. We think of rationality as giving us access to the way things truly are, as uniting us to reality in a certain sense. It looks very difficult to account for that kind of unity with reality on the assumption that what's really happening here has ultimately a non-rational origin and foundation. Sort of hard evolutionist account of rationality might be that rationality is a tool that our ancestors developed, which helped them to survive in their environment, to outbreed their competition. It all comes down to differential reproductive success, plus accidents. Accidents can happen. There's a bit of luck involved in evolutionary fate. But if we have reason, a highly developed faculty of reason today, but other animals do not, it's because at some point in the past, a highly developed faculty of rationality aided in our survival relative to other candidates for survival who didn't make it. That's the only way to account for the existence of a faculty or a feature on a purely biological evolutionary account. You guys with me so far? This, I think, is what's in the background, what Ratzinger is presuming in the background of his case. What's his alternative? That is why the logos that is at the origin of all things remains better than, more than ever, the best hypothesis. Logos here means reason, but also, for Ratzinger, means God. A God who is rational and who has created the universe, right? This is the origin and foundation, explanation of the universe. Why is the universe law governed? Why are these laws accessible to human intellect? Why is it that we, who are fallible and broken in so many ways, are able to actually understand something like relativity theory? With a great deal of effort, obviously. How are we able to grasp the way things are? Well, it's because both our minds and the things that we are knowing come from this common origin in the reason, the logos of God. God has made the world so as to be open to knowledge by our minds. He's made us with the capacity to know the reality that he's made. And this also then takes you up to the edge of the insight that maybe God also has made us with the capacity to know God to some degree and in some way, in some fashion. So the universe is not a fundamentally irrational place. It's a rational place because of this divine logos. Because it came from and is in some sense returning to the reason that is its ultimate foundation. So the choice he's presenting here is kind of between a view that he thinks ultimately has to say that the sort of bottom level, ground floor, foundational account of ourselves and the world is not rational. So then what we get at higher levels may be only the appearance and the illusion of rationality. Versus he thinks a rationality that's true to itself, for which he says the best hypothesis, though not certainly the only one, not one that we are compelled to believe, but the best hypothesis is the logos hypothesis. That, yeah, there is some kind of divine being. Maybe organized religion has it wrong about the details, but in the general cosmological sense, in terms of explaining the universe, this explanation he thinks is superior to this one, because this one involves a kind of contradiction, trying to pull rationality out of irrationality. If that's the case, rationality isn't what it seems to be from the start. That might just be the hard truth. You know, you can be a consistent evolutionist and say it's just a bitter pill to swallow. You have to realize that all the things that we thought were knowledge, that we thought were grasping reality, are in fact artifacts of this adaptive faculty that we have. That aided our ancestors in surviving, that aids us in surviving now. But that's what's really going on there. It's not something more rational than that. You just have to accept it. Thoughts on this? I've spent a long time on this one page and this one argument because it seems to me that this is something that sort of gets at a major theme of the course, which is the intelligibility of the cosmos, the question of we're going forward in our minds, going forward in our lives outside of philosophy. We'll be thinking about quite a few different things, whether your major is accounting or it's physics or chemistry or criminology. Philosophy is one of these things which deals with our overall sort of cosmological world picture, our idea of our explanation of the universe and our place in it. Ratzinger is speaking to features of these things right here. So a materialist account, which would be evolutionary and satisfactory in some ways, but not ultimately satisfactory in an intellectual sense, he thinks. Versus this other system, which he's asking people to take a chance on. This major type argument. Thoughts on this?